The thing that I don't want the other players to know is that I'm a speech and debate champion, and that I was competing in that through all 4 years of high school, and I managed to win a couple tournaments throughout, including the Tournament of Champions, which is like, it's kind of like the winners at war of debate, where you get all of like the people who've won the previous tournaments together and compete in that, and I managed to win that. So I know that the skills that I took from speech and debate are going to help me a lot in the game. But I also know that that's not something I would want to mention to anyone, because first of all, like, how lame is that to like go around and be like, hi, Zach Wertenberger, speech and debate champion. Hi, did you hear? I'm the speech and debate champion here. It's like, it's one step removed from like wearing your high school letterman onto the island. So on top of just being too embarrassed to bring that up, I know that it's something that could bring up a target for me when it comes to like, if I'm going to be able to convince other people, and people could be threatened if I were to make the final tribal, that I'd have a good speech. And I really do think that I would. So I definitely don't intend to bring any of that up.
The thing that I don't want the other players to know is that I'm always watching, and I'm always analyzing, and I'm watching social relationships. I want to see where alliances fall together and where maybe there's some tension. I'm really good at picking up on people's low-key tension when maybe people don't like each other. I can maybe exploit that, but I don't want people to know that I'm watching for that. I want it to come as a surprise where I can maybe like kind of casually insert, oh, that person is doing this. That person's a little bit annoying. What do you think? And kind of lead people into the decision that I want them to make. So I don't want them to know that I'm pretty sneaky.
This is a hard question for me to answer, because I have made the strategic decision to be pretty honest about everything. I'm gonna let people know that I'm a law clerk, and I will likely practice law after I finish clerking. I will let people know that I am a cancer survivor if they ask, in particular about a scar that gives it away to anyone in the medical profession. I guess the only thing I'm hiding is that I will do everything I can to hide, is that I am of a classical liberal persuasion and have historically worked for Republican political campaigns. At least I worked for the Romney and the Jeb Bush campaign. It's a very different world now, but I wouldn't want that to be known. And I'll steer away from politics as best that I possibly can.
What I don't want players to know is that I am terrified of actually being here. I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm extremely scared. But like everything else in life, I'm gonna make it through.
A few things that I don't want the other players to know is that I was a swimmer at the University of Alabama, and that I've broken a world record in pull-ups. If I can downplay my strength and downplay anything in my life that'll help me in the game, then that's the whole goal.
I don't want them to know I'm an actor. I don't want an unnecessary target on my back, you know, to think that I'm great at lying. I'm a terrible liar, but they don't know that, so I don't want any those preconceived notions to come in even before, like, right as the game starts.
I was a healthcare manager, and that my job pretty much was to schmooze and to get 40 plus employees to do exactly what I needed when I needed. So I'm very much a charmer, but I'd rather not be the first thing that they notice about me. I like to keep that just a little bit hidden.
Tell you something that I don't want the other players to know. It's hard to say, because normally I'm an open book. I kind of don't like to hide anything, because the minute that anybody feels you're hiding something, you become very suspicious. I would say, if there was anything I don't want them to know, I don't want them to know I'm overly emotional, because I think that they would use that to their advantage. Sometimes when I hear people's life stories, it pulls out my heartstrings, and I let my emotions take over, and I don't want that to happen in this game. As in real life, I think it's a great attribute, but I think when it comes to this game, things like that can hurt you in the game, because you let your emotions take over as opposed to your head, which is more important, and your gut.
One thing about me I don't want the other players to know is about how strategic I am. I love running numbers. Like, I've looked at all possible combinations in the past recent newbie seasons, just about all the final 6 combinations, to see what the best thing statistically is for me to win.
I absolutely do not want the other players to know that I'm a little bit of a softie. I'm a couple things. I think I'm the oldest female, and I'm the mama bear. Like, I'm already looking out for the younger ladies that look like my son's age, and just the younger people. I'm just, I don't know, looking out for them already. That's not good for my game.
Something about me that I don't want the other contestants to know is that I am a Vietnamese refugee. I came over here when I was 3 years old, and I grew up very poor. And it's a personal, my personal history isn't something that I want to share right off the bat. If it comes up, it'll come up. But I don't want my life story to kind of hinder my game, because I don't want people to use it as strategy for why I don't deserve to sit at the end, because they're afraid that I will win the money.
Something about me that I don't want the other players to know is that I can be a bit scheming. I think that when people first meet me socially, they think that I'm just a really nice person. They see my smile, they think I'm just really sweet, and they don't realize how opinionated I might be. And they don't assume a lot about me. I think that I will be really underestimated because of that. And I hope that people continue to underestimate me in this game and think that I am just this sweet, maybe a little bit naive, maybe a person who just has, looks at the world through rose-colored glasses and has everything, come easy to her. And that's not the case for me. I have fought hard for many things in my life. I work really hard, and I hope that people don't really see that when I first meet them.
There's a lot of things I'm not going to tell them about myself. Try to limit myself in terms of how much things I want to divulge, because I don't want it to be a prerequisite towards, potentially getting me out of the game. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really torn whether to talk too much about my family life and my background of where I grew up and where I grew up and where I'm from. I'm originally from Jamaica, West Indies. So, I don't want to give too much away about my past and just per se. I'd rather just talk about my present day and my present environment and where I live and my little bit about my family, but not too much. I don't want to divulge too much personal information about myself, because I've seen on prior seasons that they don't come out and say it, but you could see the changes in people. How they interact or react to someone after they find out some information regarding maybe where they're from, what they do, or things like that. And I don't want to have that also holding over me at any point, during tribal or just during the game.
Something about me that I don't want the other players to know is that I am a successful fitness business owner. I'm going to be telling them that I'm a fitness trainer. I don't want them to see me as someone who has to be somewhat strategic in my life. I find that, unfortunately, the stereotype of a fitness trainer or a fitness personal trainer is, people think a certain way about it, but I'm actually pretty successful in what I do, and I'm strategic in a way that I am empathetic and I get people talking and I get to know them. And that's how I make my moves in my life. So I don't want them to know that I'm actually really good at what I do.
I don't want the other players to know how competitive I am. I also don't want them to know I'm good at fire. I knew early on that the best goal is for no one to know that you're good at fire. That's how Tommy made it to the end, because Nora thought that he couldn't do fire. She's like, listen, I can't do fire. You're gonna have to pick the other two. And he was the one who taught the other two how to make fire. So that's a big one. If all of them, no one can know that I make fire. So if I can avoid making fire the entire time while I'm out there, that's my plan. So if everyone else sucks at fire, I'm screwed, because now I'm gonna have to make fire for everybody. So that's probably the main thing I don't want anybody to know. But to know the force they're gonna be reckoned with me, I'd love for them to not pay attention to that, because otherwise they'll get me out. If I get voted out, it's for being a threat. So I'd rather people not see me that way or know that much about me if I can help it.
I am going to tell the other players that I'm in the military, but I'm not going to tell them that I'm going to Harvard, and I'm not going to tell them that I'm 19, because both of those things, I feel like I'm going to say I'm 20 just so I'm not literally a teenager. And I'm going to say Berkeley instead of Harvard, just because I feel like that one name, some people have a bad gut reaction to it, and that's not something that you want on Survivor.
I am a therapist, and I focus on working with women with eating disorders. And as a therapist, I know the power that I can have over people because I understand people. I study the way people do things, why they do things, how they think, and I can't let anyone know that. So I'm actually going into the game and I'm telling people that I'm a caregiver because I've also studied a lot on first impressions and the psychology behind first impressions. And I know people's first impressions of me. They say I'm intimidating, or they say that they thought I was gonna be like a mean girl or stuck up. And then they get to know me and they're like, you're actually super weird. So I want to control my first impression in this environment where it is so important, and pretty much everything is based off of first impressions. So by telling people I'm a caregiver, you know, what qualities come up when you think of someone who takes care of like babies or the elderly? You think of someone who is kind and warm and caring. And these are all the things I want people to think about me, because I know in this game, people are only going to know what I tell them or what I show them. So I'm very careful and controlling in what I show and tell them.
From the moment I put in my application, I knew that I was going to be out here. And so from that moment, I started to really take seriously the opportunity. And so I don't want anyone to know that. I don't want anyone to know that I'm a threat. I don't want anyone to know for a second that I think this is my season to win.